All right, everyone. Thank you so much for being here today. My name is Chris McBride. I'm the Director of Programs at Domestic Violence Services of Snohomish County. And with the Prevention Education team, we have put together a series of webinars on communication for Teen Dating Violence Awareness Month. Every February is TDVAM, as we refer to it. And we at DVS think it's extremely important to discuss what the statistics show regarding teen dating violence, as well as explore in depth some aspects of teen dating violence, healthy relationships and unhealthy relationships. This year, we focused on communication. We are going to end our webinar series with how media communicates unhealthy relationship behaviors to teens, as you can see on the very animated graph or slide in front of you. Presenting today is going to be our very own Olivia. And you know what? I don't need to talk anymore. Olivia, it's all yours.
Awesome. Thank you, Chris. Hi, everybody. Welcome. Thank you for being here on your Friday afternoon. So as some of you might have seen a very similar looking webinar in the fall, I did do this one as a pop culture webinar. So I am kind of revamping that for TDVAM, as Chris was just saying. So if you've already seen this, I would still love if you could stick around because this time it's going to be a little bit different. I'm going to be asking for some audience participation in the chat. So get your fingers ready. And yeah, we're going to talk a little bit more about how this stuff can specifically relate to teens. So yeah, as Chris has kind of mentioned a little bit, we're going to be talking about the way that unhealthy relationship behaviors and unhealthy thinking around relationships can show up over and over again in pop culture, whether that be TV shows, movies, songs. And so just before we really jump into the fun stuff, I do want to give a quick little disclaimer that here at DVS, we definitely don't believe that media causes abuse or causes abusive behaviors. At the root of these things are attitudes and values. And so we're definitely not aiming to excuse abusive behaviors with the presence of unhealthy relationships in pop culture. So this presentation is going to show how those attitudes and values that are expressed in some pop culture examples are reflective of harmful attitudes around power and control and entitlement and a bunch of stuff that we'll talk about that contribute to abuse. And so this is especially important during TDVAM, because, as you know, I'm sure a lot of you know, adolescence is a time where, you know, a lot of stuff is happening. You might perceive, if you're a teen, you might be perceiving really high levels of social evaluation, or just kind of that feeling that everyone is thinking about you or watching what you're doing really closely. It's a time that's already filled with a lot of change and pressure and shifting relationships. And so it then may be important for some teens to try to maybe avoid drawing that negative attention to themselves or try to fit in with a peer group. And sometimes that does go with following trends, going with what people are doing. And this is definitely not the case for all teenagers, but in a lot of cases, pop culture can be a pretty convenient way to do that and a good way to be a part of a peer community, because oftentimes it reflects what everyone's already following, already listening to, watching, paying attention to. And adolescence is also a time where a lot of people might be entering into their first or their early romantic or intimate relationships. And so all of this combined makes the conversation about pop culture and what it communicates even more important to teens. So I'm going to be looking at a couple of different factors today in particular. One of these is the expectations of relationships. So this looks like what it might look like to be in a relationship, what's desirable in a relationship, and also what's just part of it. What are just the facts of the relationship? And we'll kind of do some myth busters on some of that stuff. And the other thing we'll be looking at is the normalization of pursuit behaviors that might be unhealthier. So like when one person is pursuing someone else or interested in being with someone else, what behaviors around that are actually pretty unhealthy are reflected in pop culture. And so here on the right are some of these behaviors, actions, mindsets that might be reflected, and we'll be looking at all of these specifically today. Okay, so here on this slide, I was going to try to like play every single clip from every single song, but it just got really complicated and it wasn't going to just flow well. So we are just going to be reading the lyrics using your eyes for this part. But I would love if people wanted to take a look at these lyrics. Maybe you know these songs, maybe you don't. It doesn't really matter either way. And if you have any sort of immediate thoughts in the chat, or thoughts that you want to toss in the chat, I would absolutely love that. There's no like right or wrong answers, but just anything that these lyrics might spark in you. It can be the things that I've highlighted, or it can be anything else. So while you're doing that, I also just want to say that as we jump into this presentation, definitely you are not like a bad person if you like a lot of these songs, if you've listened to these songs before, if you've like seen the movies or TV shows that we'll be talking about. That's definitely not the message that we're trying to communicate, is like, oh, you know, you don't understand what healthy relationships are if you've ever listened to this song. Again, we're really just trying to kind of pick apart this stuff because it's fun and it is important. Yeah, so the leash definitely gives off vibes of control and dominance for sure. Definitely. Or submission, yeah. You're only seeing your chats. Chris or Annie, do you have any ideas what might be going on with that?
Oh, Taylor posted it to hosts and panelists instead of everyone.
Oh, okay.
Which is perfectly okay. It just means when we see that, we'll read it out completely.
Okay.
So
Right.
Taylor says the leash, referring to the song by Fitz and the Tantrums, definitely gives vibes of control and dominance, or submission if you're the one wearing it, which is absolutely true. No worries, Taylor. Like,
yeah,
the
no,
whole who things are going to is always annoying to me.
I think I did that too when I was introducing myself. So sorry, y'all didn't see my chat, but yeah, definitely. So again, if suggest that the partners are possessive. Yeah, totally. That's a really great answer. So yeah, you all are nailing it right off the bat, right? So and again, keep the chats coming. If I start talking, that doesn't mean like you have to immediately stop chatting. I definitely will try to look and respond to everything. So don't hold back. But yeah, so starting off, we are looking at extreme jealousy and possessiveness in these lyrics, right? And so you all kind of got that right off the bat. We do have, again, this leash metaphor a little bit, not a little bit, pretty directly possessive. It conveys ownership. Down here on the bottom left, right, we have this romanticizing ownership, as if it's kind of just like a fact of the relationship that you would belong to someone else in that way, find another one that's pretty dehumanizing. And then over here on the right, this is equating passion with jealousy in a way that's not reflective of what a healthy relationship should be like. All right, we're gonna move on. Would love to get some responses for these lyrics. And you'll see as we go on, some songs will repeat, some will just show up once. So if you see the same name twice, don't be startled.
I think while we're contemplating these lyrics, I really got to give it up to Nick Jonas for rhyming hellish with jealous.
It is a clever one. Yeah, jealousy, unhealthy levels for sure. Good rhyme though. Yeah, definitely. Definitely. So here we are still talking about that theme of jealousy or extreme jealousy and possessiveness. In Love the Way You Lie, again, normalizing telling someone where they can and can't go or whether they can leave. And also just sort of the idea that this jealousy and controlling behavior is just part of the relationship, when in fact, if these things are coming up, that's really not healthy. And then, yeah, I mean, this song is literally called Jealous, so it's definitely not shying away from that fact. Yeah, validating jealousy. Yeah, interesting, because I was such a jealous teen. That's such a good point. That's a really good point, because I think we have all absolutely felt jealous before, because we're all human beings and we've all experienced these feelings. And I think that is a really good distinction to make of, okay, I feel this way, and that's a valid feeling because I'm human and because things happen. And then what's an appropriate response to that feeling? What are appropriate ways to treat other people when I feel like that? That's kind of that next step. So that's a super good point. And then, yeah, as I was saying, and as has just been said in the chat, like, especially when you're a teen, it can be just amplified so much, those jealous feelings, for sure.
And it's not something that people really talk about as like a negative, or even really a lot as a positive thing. It just, it's like you said, just talked about as a normal thing. And I'm thinking of so many other songs where jealousy is like a fundamental key to it. And I don't know, it doesn't really open. Yeah, someone said it's a normal thing, which doesn't open up the conversation about what to do with those feelings. And it doesn't open up like a chance to explore those. And I remember a lot of like times, not just like when I worked with teens, but like as a teen too, of jealousy just like being very, very commonplace. And someone like who said it is really hard because those feelings of insecurity are real and they're very present in your life.
Yeah, totally. And then, oh, Chris, did you have something?
Yeah, I was just going to say, and then on the other side, assuming that somebody is entering into relationships as a teen and doesn't necessarily have that struggle with jealousy, this a lot of songs, a lot of lyrics post that as normal. So then the person with a healthy understanding of what a relationship can be is just constantly bombarded with this idea that things aren't normal the way that they're looking at them, that they should be jealous. They should at least act like they're jealous if they're going to show love to somebody.
And on the flip of that, if their partner does start being really jealous and doing these controlling behaviors, then they don't necessarily know that that's a bad thing. They might think, oh, that's just what guys or girls or whoever is like.
Yeah, totally. These are super good points. And then here at the bottom also, just that next level of saying that he has the right to act this way because of the way that the other person looks or the other person is. That's just kind of the nail in the coffin there. So yeah, some really great points here. We're going to watch a little clip now. Hopefully the tech will be on our side. So yeah, just watch this. Any thoughts you have, just respond. We'll get a chance to respond.
What the hell is going on?
Hi, Dean, you remember Paris, right?
Yeah, hi. So just drop this off, huh?
Oh, well.
Now I know you eat fast, but this is a lot of food to put away that quickly, even on your best day.
Okay, so he didn't just drop it off.
You told me you were doing laundry tonight.
I was.
And now you are here with Jess.
And Paris.
Jess, Rory.
Well, I swear, I didn't.
You didn't what? You didn't know he was coming over?
I didn't.
And you also didn't know he was going to stay, right?
It just happened.
How does that just happen?
Well, he was, and the diner was, and I.
And you what? What? Say something.
Stop yelling.
You totally lied to me.
I didn't.
Turn the situation around, Rory. How's it looking?
It's looking complicated, and I'm trying to explain it to you.
That's crap.
It's my fault.
What?
It's my fault that Jess was here. I saw him in the diner the day I came to Stars Hollow, and I thought he was cute. And since I'm not great at the whole batting the eyelashes, look at my belly shirt kind of thing, I asked Rory to help me. I thought if she could maybe get him over here, we'd have a chance to talk. And I don't know, it seems totally stupid now, and it obviously didn't work. Shock, but that's why he was here. Thanks for trying to cover for me. That's okay. Anyway, I should get going. I'm probably gonna break out in some sort of rash any second now.
So Paris likes Jess.
Yeah.
Rory, is this true?
Yes, it is.
Paris and Jess.
I know. There's no explaining attraction. Dean, listen to me. If I was going to have anyone over tonight, it definitely would have been you.
Okay.
Really?
Well, if you say so, then I have to believe it, don't I?
Yes.
Okay, then. Sorry that I yelled.
Completely justified under the circumstances.
Gotta get going.
No. Wait, don't you want to stay for ice cream? We could hang out.
No, I'm just gonna go.
I'm still seeing you tomorrow, right?
Yeah, sure.
Hey.
See you tomorrow.
Okay.
Hey, Luke.
All right. So there was a lot there. Yeah, Chris, your hand's raised.
I think if we're going to enter into a Gilmore Girls conversation, we should talk at some point in the future about how Jess and Paris totally would have been a great couple. Like,
Yeah,
just to toss that out there. Anyways, that's all.
Yeah, I agree. It would have been like so incredibly intellectual, like they wouldn't have ever done anything else. It would just be talking about books all the time. Yes. So yeah, definitely if you all have anything you want to toss in the chat, go ahead. I know there was kind of a lot in that clip. So yeah, as I said, lots of behaviors going on here. Of course, as it was probably clear for those of you who haven't seen the show, Rory does lie to Dean in this scene, right? Like Paris and Jess were not actually into each other. But still, the whole interaction is based on Dean's extreme jealousy. That's jealousy which he and eventually she come to see as perfectly justified. And it's kind of his refusal to listen to her just turns into her apologizing and begging him to stay and begging to see him again. And so for this stuff, for teens at a time where, again, social pressure is so high and social evaluation is perceived at such a high level, it can be really even more dangerous to have media that perpetuates the idea that you can and should own somebody as a part of a relationship, kind of like Chris was saying. All right. So we're going to keep moving here just in the interest of time. I know we could talk about this stuff for 6 hours, but we don't have 6 hours. So we are transitioning a little bit into a different kind of framework here. So if you have any responses to these lyrics, would love to see them. It's okay if you don't know like the exact thing that we're getting at, but just any thoughts are appreciated. Obsession. That's a great point. Yeah.
I am not 100% sure if I'm going to phrase this right, but it's like just thoughts I'm having while reading the Justin Bieber one is that's like exactly the kinds of thoughts you have when you're like 14 and you're just like, wow, I love this person and we're going to be together forever and I'll never ever love anybody else again. And then like a year later, you're like, who? Oh yeah, that kid.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's just interesting having it from like being written by Justin Bieber. And I don't know if Justin Bieber writes his own songs or if they handed it to him and said, sing it. But because like if the person who wrote this song, if it was coming from like a genuine place, then that's kind of strange, you know, it's, I don't, well, I'm not sure. It's just, it's interesting how they managed to like get that 14-year-old's mindset into a song.
Yeah, totally. Someone said also, yeah, putting a lot of pressure on the other person. That's definitely happening here for sure.
So yeah, definitely like you're the only one I'll ever love. And so like, if you leave me, you're subjecting me to a life without ever loving anybody else again. That is a lot of pressure.
Yeah, definitely. And so yeah, the word I would use for this is intensity. I'm sure there's a lot of other ways that you could describe it too, But yeah, again, statements like, I will never love anyone else. You're the only good thing in my life. Things like that, they might seem really sweet and nice or flattering, but they can also be super intense, and they also can be manipulative, like Annie was getting at, and like we'll talk about, hopefully time permitting, a little bit later. But here it is shown as just kind of purely this romantic expression. And then over here on the Bruno Mars song, again, really extreme statements about what he would do for this person. Again, that's kind of framed as devotion, but it definitely could make someone uncomfortable or feel indebted. And okay, let's look in the chat here. Yeah, so I think that something that's also really important to note, and thank you for bringing up this point, is that a lot of this stuff can happen across all genres. I don't think that there's sort of one genre or one like type of person or type of music or type of person who makes music that makes more problematic music than others. I think there are certainly some that are more commonly accepted than others, but all music can have its problems. And also all music can be really catchy and fun to listen to. So yeah, definitely thanks for bringing that up. So yeah, this is super important, again, at a time like adolescence, when there's such huge developmental change happening and relationships are subject to so much turmoil and variance. Yeah, it can be harmful to posit this such super extreme intensity as this always a good thing or always the proof that you love someone so much. All right, any thoughts on these ones here? And Annie and Chris, I love your comments too, so definitely don't hold back if you have them.
Is this not the same lyric from the previous slide? Is this a different song?
Yeah, so the same, the top left one is the same, and then the bottom one is, yeah, I'm looking at a little bit of a different thing, but they are, I think, some of the same lyrics. But the bottom one should be different. So I can just kind of throw in some thoughts that I had on these too, and then if people have their own, they can definitely chat them as well. But something I also noticed when I was looking at the Justin Bieber lyrics is not only this intensity, but also this isolation piece, this idea that a relationship could and should be someone's entire world, when in fact that's not necessarily true. We know, or hopefully we're learning, that supportive and loving partners should encourage each other to do things outside of the relationship that make them happy as well, as opposed to statements like, you know, it's only you and you're my whole world and you're the only one that I could ever love. And then, yeah, down here, making light of the idea of someone being prisoner to someone else in the relationship, or someone's heart being in chains in the relationship, which are actually pretty unhealthy dynamics to have. If you're in an equal relationship, it shouldn't be one person shouldn't be prisoner to anyone else, literally or metaphorically.
And I think one thing I was going to add to that previous slide a little bit was there's also so much imagery that you've already explored around chains and leashes and leads. And when you think about like domesticated animals, right? Like there's this imagery that's happening through all these things you're talking about, where the heart's love is like a bestial thing rather than like a human experience. It's more akin to something that needs to be controlled in a very way. So like all of these are getting at that control aspect that you know, we like to talk about here, which is pretty interesting.
Totally. Yeah, absolutely. So I think we just for a quick time check. I think we have about 30 minutes. I might go through the lyrics pieces a little bit quicker. Definitely still chat things. We'll absolutely still try to respond. But I just want to make sure that we all, that I'm respecting everyone's time here. So I might do that a bit, might kind of speed through some of that stuff. So over here with our next bunch of lyrics, as you can probably tell from reading it and from the graphics here, we're now looking at volatility. That can be another aspect that is communicated in song lyrics and movies, etc. Over here with the Katy Perry song, she's literally saying how this person changes their mood and their reactions and the impacts that that can have on their relationship. And while this might be framed as kind of fun or exciting or mysterious in the song, in reality, that can be really confusing and really damaging for a relationship. And oftentimes a relationship that's on again, off again like that can reflect that battle for control, like Chris was just talking about. And then over here on the bottom right, again, this idea that this kind of pain is inevitable and enjoyable and desirable in some way, that this is what it looks like to be in an exciting relationship or a fulfilling relationship, that can be really problematic as well. I have a lot of lyrics for volatility, so I'll be going through a lot of slides here, but yeah, a lot of songs really get at this extreme up and down piece, this emotional pain and back and forth as like not only necessary, but sometimes pleasurable in a relationship. As you can see with some of these highlighted lyrics in this one. And then Taylor Swift, of course. Again, that screaming and fighting is something to be coveted, something that you would miss from a relationship. Acting insane as proof that you love someone. And then this, again, breaking down, coming undone, that's roller coaster feelings as indicators of love and excitement, when really this can be really stressful if it's happening to you in real life. Because I think especially with teens, they already experience so much up and down in their social lives. It's such a social time. And so to put forth that message that is supposed to be fun and whimsical and that means that you're in love, that can be really, I think, stressful for people when that's something they're dealing with. Okay, we're gonna watch a clip here. Hopefully it'll come up. Switching gears a little bit in terms of the thing we're looking at. Hopefully y'all will be able to tell what this is getting at here. So.
You want to dance with me?
No,
Why not?
because I don't want to.
No. She's with us. Yeah, you want to ride the Ferris wheel?
I'd love to.
All right.
No, Calvin. What? Works down in Colombia, I understand. Oh. Did you say he was standing like 2 inches away from my face? Yeah, I saw. That's Noah, though. You know, I'm surprised he even came over. I think he likes you.
Hey, what are you doing? Hey, you can't do that! I'll tell you when I get down, Tommy. I'm no Calhoun. So it's really nice to meet you. Who is this guy?
I don't know. No Calhoun.
I would really like to take you out. Fred, do you mind?
You can't sit more than 2 people in a chair, Noah. Okay, Tommy, all right.
Get down, Noah. You're going to kill yourself.
Noah, cut it out.
Well, you go out with me?
What? No. No.
No.
Hey, pal, she just told you.
Why not?
I don't know, because I don't want to. Noah.
All right, well, you leave me no other choice then.
Oh, my God.
I'm not kidding, Noah. Stop fooling
What are you doing?
Noah, get the
I'm
ball.
gonna ask you one more time. Will you? Or will you not go out with me? Goddamn my head slipper.
He grabbed her car, you idiot!
Not until she agrees.
Go out with him, honey.
Okay, fine. I'll go out with you.
Well, don't do me any favors.
No, I want to.
You want it?
Yes!
You want it? Say it.
I want to go out with you.
Say it again.
I want to go out with you.
All right. We'll go out.
All right. So that's kind of a ridiculous clip, but it does show some things that are good to talk about, I think. Yeah, if people have chat responses, definitely send them over. So if you, oh, sorry, there's a thing popping up my screen. Okay. So as you might have been able to tell from that clip, we're next going to be looking at threats, intimidation, and guilting. So this scene, as I said, definitely framed as ridiculous. But it is, yeah, threats and guilt. Absolutely. It is, if you've seen this movie, this man is the protagonist. You're supposed to root for him, at least on some level. And so this is framed as, in some way, charming and quirky and fun. And really, no matter how fun this is supposed to be, it is a blatant self-harm threat. And it's, of course, blown up to ridiculous proportions, but definitely not an effective way to ask someone out. And also, I always think it's funny to notice also the other guy in this scene, the one that's sitting in the chair, being like, oh, you do want to go out with him? Like, buddy, that's not the point. She's like, there's so much problematic stuff happening here. So I always think that's an interesting one. Annie, sorry, I think we might skip the Twilight one in the interest of time. I know.
How could you do this?
There's too many good clips to choose from. There's so many. Okay, we'll watch Twilight. I want to appease Annie.
You could skip to like the middle line. That's when that's when it's prime.
Annie knows this clip a little too well. We're just gonna play it
A little too well.
Yeah, maybe she can walk us through it after.
I would consider us
it.
a collective of designers.
What's awesome is to be able to combine the fingers in the pen.
You have snap tools and it's so responsive.
We've been working together from pretty much everywhere.
With Windows 11, we're just doing it better.
This is why we don't show ourselves in sunlight. People would know we're different.
Chris had to go camera off.
Get back here, Chris.
It's like diamonds. Beautiful.
Beautiful. It's the skin of a killer, Bill. I'm a killer.
I don't believe that.
It's because you believe a lie. It's camouflage. I'm the world's most dangerous predator. Everything about me invites you in. My voice, my face, even my smell. As if I wouldn't need any of that.
As if you could outrun me!
As if you could fight me off. I'm designed to kill.
I don't care.
I've killed people before.
It does not matter.
I wanted to kill you. I've never wanted human's blood so much in my life.
I trust you.
Don't.
I'm here. I trust you.
My family, we're different from others of our kind. We only hunt animals. We learn to control our thirst. But it's you. Your scent. It's like a drug to me. You're like my own personal brand of heroin.
Why did you hate me so much when we met?
I did. Only for making me want you so badly. I still don't know if I can control myself.
I know you can.
Okay, so a lot to unpack there. Yeah, romanticizing the bad boy type. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, it's always fun to use vampires as a lens to talk about unhealthy relationship behaviors because they're just like the most extreme. So why not? Yeah, so definitely using this bad boy type archetype framework, whatever you want to call it, kind of presented as mysterious and exciting, but he's also just using physical intimidation. He's throwing objects, he's yelling at her, he's moving in unpredictable ways, and it's kind of, I'm sorry, I just can't. This is Annie's face and just trying to talk seriously about vampires in relationships. It's objectively kind of funny, but still, yeah, he's saying things that indicate that he's going to hurt her, and she is still, they make a point to illustrate her pursuit. She doesn't care, she still trusts him. Definitely an unhealthy dynamic on an extreme vampire level. So as a, yeah, she still wants him for sure, as did many teenage girls, including Annie.
When I show this video, we have a red flags game where we play some of these clips and more with teens. And then we're like, all right, so what flag is that? And someone goes, well, it doesn't count because he's a vampire. And I was like, okay, so does being a vampire in itself not make that a red flag? But
that's a way to get into a deep rabbit hole with middle schoolers.
another youth pointed out a really good fact that, well, the girl Bella, she's not exactly like being a green flag herself. She is saying that she doesn't care and that none of these things bother her. And maybe that's a bit of a red flag for Edward too. But
good point. Yeah, we learn all kinds of things in the work we do from the youth we work with. So
I just wanted to say two quick things. One, about the Notebook. My favorite fact about the Notebook is, and this is off topic, but my favorite fact about the Notebook is Ryan Gosling was cast for that role because he wasn't conventionally handsome. They wanted somebody who was not conventionally handsome to play that role. And then Ryan Gosling became his own particular kind of handsome.
That is interesting because I would think of him as like pretty conventionally attractive, like,
right, but
probably because of that movie.
Yeah, exactly. Second, around the Twilight clip, one thing that is occurring there that is hard to pull out, but definitely occurs within relationships, within unhealthy and abusive relationships a lot, is the simple manipulation of getting somebody else to buy in. When you call yourself bad and you're forcing your partner to say that you're not bad, that reinforces their belief and their attachment to you in a way that like is internalized subjugation almost, versus telling somebody that that you're good and showing them that you're good and them being with you because you're good. They're there to tell you that you're good. They're what stops you, A, from being the monster, and B, they also know that you are better than you yourself know. They know you better than you know yourself. And all of that leads itself into a dependent relationship, and it creates the power and control within abusive relationships.
Yeah, definitely very true. Thank you so much, Chris. All right, we will move on to the next little set of lyrics here. We are still looking at guilting, at emotional manipulation. Here on the left, sort of, we see this threat of just extreme sadness and depression if this person is to leave them. And of course, there is this line between the expression of I really care about you and I would be sad if we weren't together, which is a pretty reasonable thing to feel, versus that, if you ever leave me, I will literally never recover. There will be no sunlight, things like that are super dramatic, could definitely posits this idea that we're responsible for the emotions of other people at the expense of our own comfort and safety, which is definitely not something that we want to be perpetuating for anyone, but for teens, especially when they're maybe entering into these kinds of relationships. And then here, again, more Bruno Mars, really extreme statements that create these unrealistic expectations of what should be a part of a relationship. Not literally, I mean, hopefully no one's taking bullets for anyone, but even figuratively, right? I would do all these things for you, why won't you do the same things for me? And again, at a time like adolescence, when you're a teenager, when you're learning or honing in on the skills to communicate well and communicate independently, it can be really, really harmful to perpetuate the idea that effective methods of communication include guilt, include threats, include intimidation, right? Right, we do have another notebook clip because we're here, we're talking about it. So let's see what we got.
Sure. Mr. Underwear, was it?
Oh, yeah.
How could I forget?
Yeah, I wanted to clear that up with you because I'm really sorry about that. It was a really stupid thing to do. Crawl up the Ferris wheel to talk to somebody, but I had to be next to you. I was just being drawn to you.
oh, geez, what a line. You use that on all the girls?
No.
Right. I saw you the other night with Little Miss Ribbons.
What are you doing tonight?
What?
Or tomorrow night or this weekend, whatever.
Why?
Why, our date?
What date?
The date you agreed to?
No.
Yes, you did. You promised and you swore it.
Well, I guess I changed my mind.
Look, I know you get some dirty guy coming up to you on the street. You don't know him. You don't know me, but I know me. When I see something that I like, oh God, I love it. I go crazy for it.
What are you talking about?
Well, you.
You're good.
What?
You're good.
No.
You're good.
No, you're getting me
You are.
wrong.
You're fantastic. You really are. I'm impressed.
I'm not usually like this. I'm
Yes,
sorry.
you are.
I can be fun if you want. Pensive, smart, superstitious, brave, light on the feet. Do whatever you want. You just tell me what you want and I'll do that for you.
You're dumb.
I could be that. Come on, one day. What's it gonna hurt?
I don't think so.
Okay. So this is, I think, if I remember correctly, this is immediately following or shortly after the Ferris wheel scene. So here we're looking at persistence, right? This, again, could be perceived as fun, flirtation, or cute, or charming, or also evidence that he really, really likes her, right? But it is also important to note that on a serious level, if you really, really like someone, you are respecting, or you should be respecting their answers, you should be respecting their personal space. And again, this does, to an extent, normalize this idea that it's okay to just keep on asking over and over until you get what you want. And of course, someone saying yes because they just want to get the person to stop asking. Not that this is necessarily what's happening in the scene. We haven't been watching the whole movie. We don't know the context. But in general, that's not a real yes, right? A yes, please stop asking me. Okay, fine, is not a real yes. And of course, also holding someone to an agreement that they made under the Ferris wheel circumstance, definitely not healthy either. All right, we have about 10 minutes left. I think we can get through the last couple clips that I have. Yeah, I never really noticed that. Yeah, a lot of this stuff is things that we would never notice or think about. Yeah, I also have seen The Notebook several times, and I feel like even as recently as, I don't know when I last saw it, but I was old enough to be conscious of things and of relationships, and I feel like I never really took the time to think about any of this stuff either. So it's definitely pretty like subversive.
And I feel like a lot of that can come in from the tone that a movie is. I don't know if you've ever seen those trailers where they take a same movie and then they put the trailers in like horror movie or romantic comedy styles. But like the tone of the movie is like, at least in these clips, is very lighthearted. Like you're supposed to laugh. And if they had different music about it, and if they, you know, they could have like expressed the same scenes with the same intent in a way that made you feel deeply uncomfortable. But it's like, and it's, we're supposed to laugh at it, you know, we're supposed to think, oh, that's cute because that's the way it's designed. So definitely don't be like, oh, well, I feel silly now.
Yeah, definitely. And as I said at the beginning, right, like if you have, I mean, I've seen Gilmore Girls twice through. I love Gilmore Girls. So I'm definitely not saying if you consume any of this stuff, then, you know, you're a terrible person or you don't understand how any of this works, because that's definitely not what we're saying. It's just really interesting to kind of pick these things apart. All right.
Right.
Oh, go ahead.
And I know we're rushing on time here, but I did want to touch base, because what's important about this when talking with kids is also talking about products of time. Some of these behaviors, of course, were never great behaviors, but they were socially acceptable, in the time that they are presented. Like The Notebook appears to be, I've actually never seen The Notebook. This is the most I've ever watched of this movie. But it appears to be what, the 50s, 60s, maybe?
Isn't it earlier, Annie?
It might be earlier. I can't
Earlier.
quite tell. The car bumped me into the 50s, but maybe it's the 40s. It doesn't really matter. What matters is, in that stage of life, young men were supposed to pursue with a vigor, and they weren't supposed to take no as an answer. And in 2004, when this was created, we hadn't gone through a lot of the context, a lot of the cultural change that we have since gone through around things like patriarchy and misogyny. There wasn't quite as much awareness in youth as there is now. So The Notebook I love Ryan Gosling. I'm surprised I haven't watched this, because I have watched Crazy Stupid Love way more often than I should. I love Ryan Gosling. I'd watch this, absolutely, but it's a product of its time. And so conversations with youth, especially the younger teenage years, this isn't showing you a lesson. This is showing you a time frame. The lessons are what come from the conversations you have with the people you trust and the people around you. Sorry, I just needed to toss in the time frame thing real quick.
Oh no, it's definitely true, definitely important. I also just looked it up really quick, and it's 1946. So we were all right. Yeah, I felt like it was, yeah, I'm bad at decades, but that was my general guess. All right. So our last sort of framework that we are going to be looking at, this one is heavy, should also be relatively straightforward in looking at these lyrics. But yeah, this last one I'm touching on is hugely important, and that's physical violence. And so definitely pop culture, songs, movies, shows, definitely not immune to normalizing and even romanticizing this stuff some of the time. This is an extreme example of physical violence here in these lyrics. This idea that it's because he's angry, also, that this is happening because he has anger problems or has anger in him, not that it's, you know, an expression of control, which is what physical violence in an abusive relationship is. Yeah, yikes. I would agree. And yeah, of course, the blatant death threat at the end, death threat associated with leaving the relationship. So yeah, this one I have a harder time with in terms of, I really just hate the song with every fiber of my being. But yeah, I thought it was good to put in here. And yeah, so then there's, even on the way kind of less intense end of things here, there's even just metaphors like I'm prepared to take a bruising, normalizing this kind of language in a relationship, but also reinforcing this idea that to take a bruising, so to speak, can be something that's enjoyable or something that's worth it, something that will pay off in the end for something better in the relationship. and that love hurts. Yeah, totally. That's a really good kind of phrase to sum this up for sure. So I think we have just enough time for the last clip I was going to show. I might skip a little bit of it because it is a little longer. So give me just a sec.
Rochester, how do you like that? Rochester, well.
Nope. Uh-oh. Come on.
Why Rochester? Well, why not? Can you think of anything better?
No, seems to be having some technical difficulties.
If you know it well enough, I'm sure we'd all be okay if you acted it out for us.
I'm really trying to avoid that at all costs. It's a two-person scene, so dang. Okay. Well, that's a bummer. I think skipping ahead probably won't help.
But right here. You remember that that old tool and machinery works?
Dang. That just got so much worse. I don't know, maybe some of you have seen this movie, maybe you know the scene. I've seen this movie like a bazillion times. I watch it every Christmas with my family. So I actually probably could act out the scene if I had another person and if any fiber of my being wanted to do that. But that's gonna be a hard no for me.
Well, you tell your father you can get that for a song, all the labor.
Okay, well, seems this isn't gonna work, but I can try to just give a quick summary of the vibes of this scene. Essentially, he gets really stressed out. He gets very overwhelmed. He begins literally physically threatening or advancing on her. He shakes her. She's crying. He's like yelling in her face. And then immediately they start kissing. And it's just kind of this scene that reinforces this myth that that physical violence, physical threat can immediately lead to like passion or to love. And so, yeah, similar to the last section, to communicate to anyone, but especially to teens, that physical violence is an acceptable form of getting your needs met or an appropriate way to end conflict is super dangerous. Again, especially for people whose brains are still developing and who are in the early stages of forming romantic and intimate relationships. So with that, we are almost at 3 o'clock. If anybody has any questions or comments or anything, definitely throw them in the chat. We'd love to talk with you for a couple minutes. Yeah.
I was going to say great job on the timing, even with going over in way too much detail, the Twilight clip. As a favor to Annie.
That's why I was like, we should just skip this one because this is going to be a 10-minute rabbit hole. But then I was like, we should just embrace it. And I'm glad we did.
My own webinar just about Twilight.
We should really put that in the spring webinar list.
I say we do it.
We'll maybe need a 2-part series.
Yeah.
So Susanna, I'll actually answer that question. Taylor, thank you so much. Susanna, we're actually in schools. We've been working with different schools in the community. Both Olivia and Annie have been in and out of schools. I think we have a bunch of the Everett schools over the spring quarter. So yeah, we're definitely there.
Yeah, and if you know anyone else who is like a community leader or works with youth or anything, anybody who could use our information or you think would be interested in having these conversations, definitely let us know because we're always looking for more places to get in and talk to people.
Well, thank you everyone so much for attending. Great presentation, Olivia. And honestly, I think we should talk about this at least once a season, and maybe next time we can find clips and lyrics that are past 2016. who knows? There's potential for that
Was that a
too.
roast? Oh my God. There's a lot to choose from, okay? The hardest part of making this was like sifting through every song ever.
Absolutely. Welcome to DVS, where you get Fits in the Tantrum lyrics 4 times at minimum. You're welcome, America. All right. Well, I think that's the end. Yeah.
Yep.
We'll probably sit and talk about this stuff. But if y'all want to stick around, feel free. Otherwise, have a great weekend. And thank you, Susanna. You do the same. Taylor, always great seeing you.
Are we doing gift cards, Chris? Not this time.
Oh, well,
Yes.
Susanna, congratulations. You won a gift card for attending because Taylor already won one.
Woo!
Susanna, I'll actually get your information from Kim and I'll get that out to you. Okay. All right.
Thank you. Have a good weekend.
You can probably stop recording unless you already did.
Yeah, I need to do that.
All right. I'm glad that you hadn't yet. So we got the roast